Hey guys, it is Clay at CPAP My Way, cpapmyway.com. Today I am here to go over the Transcend Micro Travel CPAP. This is now officially the smallest CPAP available on the market, and it has a lot of really cool features and benefits. In the video here, I'm going to go over the specifications, size, dimensions, weight, so you can have an idea of how it might fit, how to set it up, unpack the box, what comes with it, maintenance. Then we're going to go over the pros and cons, what might make it better or a worse option for you and your lifestyle. Then finally, we're going to hook it up and let it run so you can hear it run and see how it performs. If you enjoyed the information, we really appreciate the thumbs up. Subscribe for more information, comment with any questions, or if you've had any experience with it. We love hearing about that, and so does the community. And then also keep in mind that in the link below, we're going to have some links to some detailed videos like setting up the app, the muffler comparison sound-wise, and then I'm going to try to get my wife Caitlin to use it a little bit, and if I can, I'll get that video in there for you as well. So look for those separate videos as well. Let's jump in. All right, so let's start off with unpacking the micro. You're going to get a cool little box that slides out real nicely. Seems like all these companies are getting really nice at their presentation these days. And you'll see your micro ready to rock and roll in here. Just pull it right out of the little sleeve it's set in. Pull out your packaging, and inside you're going to have your Transcend Micro tubing, which is a unique tube. I'll show you that in a second. Little travel case. That makes it kind of nice to actually pack everything away. Then you're also going to have your power converter brick, AC wall plug, and a user manual, but who reads this? So to hook it up, it's very simple, right? You've got your cord, which plugs to the brick here. Right, you'll plug in the AC outlet, and then on the bottom of the unit here, you've got a couple of connections. One is a USB for that's actually to connect it to a computer. It doesn't power the device, and then you've got your little round hole where you plug in the power supply. Of course, you plug it into the wall, and you're ready to rock and roll as far as that goes. The tubing, as I mentioned, is very unique. It has two distinct ends. This end that has like a little bit of a groove in it and is much smaller, and then obviously your 22 millimeter cuff, which will fit any standard CPAP mask. So when you're hooking up the tubing, you just line up those little grooves with these little bitty pins that are inside there, and then you twist it to lock it in, right? So if you just really put it in there and just start twisting to the right, it finds its groove and you'll hear it or feel it pop into place there. Once you've got that done, of course, you just grab your tube end here and you can hook it up to any 22 millimeter universal connection, like this is an N20 here. All right, so you get an idea of how it might fit in your luggage. It's really about the size of a baseball, right? Super small, obviously a little bit bigger than a baseball. I don't think I could throw a curve with it, but it's 3.5 inches just about across, and about 2.5 inches tall. It weighs less than half a pound, so you're probably not even going to notice it in your suitcase. For the sake of everybody that's barbecued me about the power supply, you can see the power supply is just about the size of the micro, so you will have to power the device when you get there, so you want to incorporate that. It also weighs probably about the same, maybe a half a pound. So it will take up a little bit of additional space. But I have found that in the travel bag that comes along with it, the mask, the power supply, and the unit along with the tubing fit in no problem at all. As far as maintenance on your Transcend Micro, it is pretty similar to any other CPAP. On the side here, you got a little vent, right? So if you're looking at it straight up right there, on this side, you've got a little vent with a little tab. So just pull that little tab, it unlocks the little cover. And inside there, you're gonna see a little foam filter. Very simple, just kind of pinch it, pull it out. Of course, I can't get a hold of it, but it's a very simple little bitty filter. So it's pulling a lot of air through that filter. If you're traveling with it for more than a week or so, I'd recommend pulling it out once a week and cleaning it, because it's moving a lot of air through a very small filter. Just rinse it under a little warm water, dry it off real good. There is no right or wrong way to put it back in there. Just make sure it gets in there below the tabs, and then you can just put your door back on. Real simple. That's all the maintenance there is to the actual machine itself. You can wipe it down with a damp cloth from here and there. It's not waterproof, but you'll notice the buttons on top are water resistant. So if you spilled something on top of it, it's not that big a deal. And wiping it with a wet cloth is definitely no big deal at all. Of course, the tubing and mask should be maintained weekly as well if you're going to use it for that length of time. Soap and water, and rinse it really well. As far as accessories go for this Transcend Micro, there are 3 things that you can opt to have with it. The first thing is your tube muffler. We're going to have a separate video demoing the sound before and after installing the tube muffler, but you'll notice on the tube muffler you've got the same little adapter, and it plugs right into the outlet of the Transcend Micro the same way that Transcend Micro tubing did. And it also comes with a standard slim CPAP tube with similar cuffs. So one nice thing about the muffler in addition to it is that it, in addition to it making it quieter, is that it converts it to use standard CPAP tube, which is really nice as well. Another really good option for the Transcend Micro is pretty much like any other travel CPAP. You don't have a heated humidifier. So if you're in an area that's a little drier or you dry out personally, you may want to consider the HME. You can use generic HMEs with that, with this in line right before the mask, but they do have their own proprietary HME, which is the air mist HME, and it has a reusable case where you install the little air mist HME cartridges. These cartridges are good for about 7 days, and when you order a pack of them, it comes with 4. So you're gonna get somewhere in the neighborhood of about a month's worth of use. You just slip the cartridge in there, close up the case by twisting it shut, don't over tighten it. And then of course it goes in between the end of your tube, and your mask connects onto the end here as well. We have an HME video I'll link in here as well for you. The final accessory for the Transcend Micro is the battery option. The Transcend battery will actually power this device for as much as 3 nights while you're away from a power source. It's a really, really cool option. I'll link that below as well. It does add a little bit of size to what you're carrying with you, but if you don't have power, I mean, what else are you gonna do? As far as my pros and cons on the Transcend Micro, the first and foremost is super obvious. The thing is super small. If you've got a limited amount of space in your carry-on or your suitcase or where you're going, this is definitely an option to consider because it takes up very, very little space. The other really nice thing about it is it's very simple, you know, especially from us anyway. It's gonna come preset with your prescription settings. So really what it'll boil down to is on and off, right? You got the on and off button, in addition to a Bluetooth button, your ramp button to activate your ramp if you're using a ramp. And then I'll talk about this little button over here, the little breezy button, in just a second, but it's gonna boil down to just turning it on and off. Very, very simple operation. Another nice feature compared to some of the older Transcend models is that it has Bluetooth connectivity and a nice little app that'll allow you to track data and operate the device. We're gonna do a separate video on how to link and set up the app, so look for that in the description. And a final real big pro on this is its universal mask connection. So the end of the tube is going to connect to any mask that you're using, so you don't have to make a concession on the type of mask you're using. As far as limitations on the Transcend Micro, I would say the one that pretty much all travel CPAPs have, there is no heated humidifier. If you're a person that needs a good bit of extra humidity to keep from drying out, you're definitely going to at least need the HME, the air mist HME or a standard HME. Also, as with a majority of travel CPAPs, it's a little louder than a home CPAP. We've had some people that was just a deal breaker for them. It was just not quiet enough for them to sleep. I've maybe seen that a couple of times out of hundreds of people buying it at this point. So I don't think it's an overwhelming issue. If you're an extremely sensitive sleeper and any noise wakes you up, you may want to listen to this carefully when I try it on so that you can understand what kind of noise level it's going to have. We also have a link comparing all travel CPAP noise levels. I'll put that here as well or somewhere, so you can click on that and watch it if you care to see decibel readings. Another limitation is that you do have that specific tubing adapter, right? So if you're using their proprietary 6-foot tube or their tube muffler, obviously, if it breaks, you can't just go get one off the shelf anywhere else. You're gonna have to get that specific adapter. So you may wanna have an extra one of those on hand just in case. And the final thing I'd like to point out is something that a lot of people point out after they buy these, is your DC converter here, the part that converts your AC electricity to the 19 volts that this runs on, is almost the same size as the CPAP. So you will have to have this with you, and it is something to consider as far as packing up the device. All right, so now let's hook this thing up. I'm gonna throw on a mask and I'm gonna let you guys hear it run so that you can get a good idea of what kind of noise level it is and the simplicity of operation. All right, so obviously first thing first, you gotta hook it up to the power supply. So we're gonna plug it in here. All right, and then of course on the bottom, you've got the little hole where it connects. Very, very simple. You'll notice a couple of the lights flash and you'll see a little light lit up above your on and off button, which is the major button right here on the surface, on the bottom of the machine if you're looking at it. I'm going to hook it up using the tube muffler so we can get an idea of the quietest that it can run. So obviously your tube muffler just hooks right up to the front. Before I go any further, I did want to remember to point out this little button here on the far side. It looks like some little wind. This is actually a drying mode. So it's a really cool feature that you can use to help dry out the tube, the muffler, and the mask to make sure there's not any excess condensation in there. You can just press it again to turn that feature off in case you don't want it to run. But if you just press it and let it run for 30 minutes, it does a really good job of drying the system out. Okay, so now that we got the tube hooked up, all we have to do is plug a mask on. I happen to have N20 here sitting out that I know fits me. You can use any mask you like on this, which is kind of nice. This happens to be the ResMed N20. You gotta throw it on, and this Transcend Micro set at a setting of 10, so kind of mid-range. Hopefully it's close to what you're using. All right, so it has a very sensitive auto odd feature. Before I could even press the odd button here, it actually kicked itself odd. It started going up to 10 centimeters. I'm gonna let it run at 10 so that you could hear what it sounds like, but keep in mind that I do have the ramp set, so I could press the ramp button and it will start the ramp cycle on this machine, which will gradually increase to the 10 centimeters I'm currently on. So if ramp is a big deal for you, you would probably go from odd to the ramp button there to activate your therapy for the night. All right, so we're running. So for me, this is not a lot of noise. I know some people are pretty sensitive, but I would have no trouble at all sleeping with this level of sound. In fact, I will say I just did a trip with my dad where I had to share a bed with him, and he uses CPAP every night, snores like a freight train, and so I slept beside him, obviously, for about 7 days, and he was using this device. I just wanted to get a good test run before I made this video to get some real understanding of how it works. And it was pleasant. I didn't hear the machine running at all. I did hear him snoring when he didn't put the mask on. So it worked well. It kept him from snoring, as far as I could tell. We didn't do any downloads on it, but it worked great for the entirety of the trip. I didn't hear it. It didn't bother me as a bed partner at all. So overall, we really like it. It's a super nifty little machine because it's so small and easy to take along with you. We've had really great feedback. We've been putting it out for months now. So this is definitely not our first rodeo on this particular device. We've had very few complaints. The only complaint we've had has been a little bit of the noise complaint, but we get that on pretty much every travel CPAP model, to be honest, here and there. And I think it just boils down to people that are extremely sensitive sleepers as far as sound goes. So that's probably not something you're going to be able to get around if you or your bed partner are an extremely light sleeper. So if you enjoyed the information, we really appreciate the thumbs up. Comment with any questions or things I should expand on, especially if you have experience with this device, good, bad, or indifferent. So thanks for watching.